Today I'll show you everything you need to know to design a fully functional website. I'll show you the full process of web design, starting from the research to wireframing, strategizing, how to source for images, and how to use the 8-point grid system to achieve a perfect alignment in your design. Also, in this video, we're going to design a user-friendly website. No prior knowledge is required because I made this crash course beginner friendly. So let's get right into it. Here we are, right in Figma, and I'm going to show you, take you through all the process I go through, everything my thought process while creating a website, and we're going to design a fully functional website right in Figma. Right, most of the process you're going to go through while coming up with designing a website, it all depends on the team you work with. Let's say you work for a company and you work for an agile team. Definitely you're going to be working with, let's say, product owner, product manager, scrum masters, UX, the UX designer, and the dev team, right? As opposed to when you're working with as a freelancer. Let's say a company employs you just to design their website. So most likely you're not going to have a product owner for that kind of project, right? So you're going to do most of the work, research. Yes, as a UX designer, you're going to do a lot of research, but you're also going to supposed to go like above and beyond, conduct surveys, competitors analysis, and all of those things just to get your facts right, just to get data that will back up or help you design an application or a website that is convertible, that can convert for this client. Because at the end of the day, it's not really about a pretty website, it's about a website that converts into sales or convert into whatever objective the company has. So today we're not going to deal with like the one focus on agile team, because in an agile team, the UX designers work closely with product owners. Product owners do a lot of market research, come up with data on that product you're going to create or the feature you want to come up with. They conduct research, and then UX designers work together with them on those data, and then they use that data to also build the application website. Today we're going to imagine that is like a company, an independent company hired you as a freelance UX designer, and you're going to do everything from scratch, from competitors analysis, conducting surveys, and then looking at other websites to see what they're doing better and how to improve on this client's project. So now our use case today is this company called Hello Dreams. Let me give you a rundown of what Hello Dreams is all about. Hello Dream is like a multidisciplinary company dedicated to empowering individuals and business through comprehensive suite of professional services. So their core focus is on delivering exceptional design. So I just want to point it out, this document you're seeing here is like a document I created right here in Figma. It's for a company. So the company, I understand, had a meeting with the company, and I understand everything about the company, right? And I had to put it into more like a summary of what the company does, just to give me like that visual feel and understanding. I also made the presentation to the stakeholder just to re-emphasize the information I have gotten. So they're into design, social media management, educational, mentorship solutions, and all of that. So this is their vision, mission, values, and let's go over to the products that they offer. So they have design services, which is graphic design, web and mobile application design, customizable items. They also offer educational program, which is tutoring services, mentorship programs, seminars, and they also have professional development services, which has to do with CV writing, engine optimization, academic and business writing. Then they also have media production, video production, and all of that. This is what I did for the company. So I did this presentation. This gives me like a clue of what the company is all about. So the next thing that I did was to go and do some research, right? I created some surveys here. I'm going to show you. This is the survey questions. So I sent out some surveys and I got a lot of responses. So this is one of these questions I did. So you know that this company is going to be offering a whole lot of, which has to do with CV writing, social media, all the services you're looking at here. So I wanted to understand if users are going to appreciate that all of these things are going to be combined. Even though at the point I was sending this out, I felt like it might be too much on a website and users might get confused as to what the business actually does. Some of the questions that I asked: which of the following services offered by HelloDreams are you most interested in? So I targeted plus the existing customers and new customers, and I went ahead to also ask this question: how valuable do you think the combination of the above mentioned services provided by HelloDreams will be for individuals or businesses? I wanted to know if people are going to see these services as being valuable. Do you find the idea of HelloDreams offering comprehensive set of services appealing? Right? I said yes or no. How likely are you to engage in any of these services? So provided by, right? Very likely, So I also asked, what aspect do you think could differentiate from? This was like an open question, so I needed them to provide verbatim feedback for me. So part of the reason I asked this one here now, I wanted to know the services that is most popular right now, because sometimes when a company has so many products that they're selling, they tend to neglect some other ones and then promote more of one particular product without even knowing it. On this website, I don't want to make the same mistake of promoting one over the other one. So yeah, so after doing this research, I came to my Excel. So this one, so the point, you can do like more detailed analysis, right? Maybe if you're presenting to stakeholders, but again, like this Google Excel mini analytics can actually serve. So what I do here is to come to insert here. So depending if I want to visualize it using pivot table or chart, but for this purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to use a simple chart, right? I'm going to drag this all the way here. Now for this one, let's use a pie chart. Let's use any of these ones, or let's use this one. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and select my data range. So let's try to visualize this column here. Do you find the idea of HelloDream offering a comprehensive set of services that design education mentorship appealing? Right, so this column here, let me go back to the edit chart. So it's going to be, this is a D1 and it ends at D25. So I'm going to say D1, D25. Okay, so I'm going to go and say use column as header, and I'm going to click on aggregate this. So I'm going to click on use row 1 as header. Let's see, do you find the idea of this appealing? So I think for better visualization, this pie chart will not do justice. So let's go back and select a column chart. All right, so you can see, do you find the idea of HelloDreams offering? You can see that we have a lot of people saying yes, that is actually appealing. So I'm going to go ahead and make adjustments to this font because it looks too big. So I'm going to select Garamond and I'm going to give it a 14 and I'm going to make it a bold. Right, so you can actually play around the settings for the chart here. So maybe you can make this side a 3D, right? Let's just bring it down. So, but you get it now. Now, with this data that I've gotten a bit of information, right? This is how you can visualize it anyway. Let's say you want to add any other kind of visualization here. You could choose a pivot table or a chart or anything, right, that will visualize this information that you have going on here. So you can see a lot of people have told me that they find it appealing, right? Then there's also this section, do you find the idea of, okay, so this section here, how likely are you going to engage? Let's try to visualize this and see what people are saying. Are they really going to engage with this service? Yes, so let's see, this is E1 to E25. So let's go back and edit this. Let's say E1 to E25. So once the E1 to E25, I'm going to say I'm going to click on that, click on aggregate. Let's use row 1 as header. All right. So let's reduce this. All right, so you can see that a lot of people are saying, how likely are you going to, let's see, how likely are you to engage in any of the services provided by? So you can see we have a lot of very likely, just few people said neutral. So let's try to add. Okay, so we can try to add the label, so you can see the number of persons that said very likely and all that. We're just going to go to customize, and on the series here we can say add labels. So a lot of people said very likely, just 3 people say that they were neutral. All right, so you can see that yes, the idea of the website or the business generally, it has prospects. Then you can go ahead to also look at the verbatim comments, right? Are there any additional service or feature you would like to see? Right, this person is saying Twitter Spaces. I'll let you know if I have social media recognition and earning, product management. Hello Dreams should add writing article, books and poems, help customers with jobs and internship sourcing. Interesting. I think that's actually a good market, a good opportunity for businesses, because a lot of people are looking for jobs and internships, right? Networking, digital marketing, right? Because part of the items listed was social media management, so maybe the person felt we can actually cover much more than social media and go into digital marketing. All right, content creator and backdrops, brand management. Okay, so there are a lot of things or insight you can gather from this kind of surveys, which I've taken time and I've studied it, and I've gotten lots of ideas on what I can do for the website. So moving back to our design here. Now, another thing I did was kind of do like a competitors analysis. I found some competitors that were doing the same thing. Though what I want to do is look at their website while designing, right? I didn't just want to have a document, or having the document can actually be very beneficial, especially if you want to present it to the stakeholders or to the business. You can actually put it here, keywords for hero section. So I like to have proper keywords for SEO, search engine optimization, right? I like to find words that have been used in other websites that pop up when I type on Google. I want to see what they did, what words that they use on their website. I like to find those kind of things. Then I like to see the imagery they use. Do they go with video concept or image for product design? You can see this website, fantasy.co. They use majorly videos. Each section of a page is built on storytelling. They didn't go the conventional way. So I added that once, and after this, the next thing I tried to do was to look at the competitors and website. So I've already gone ahead to screenshot some kind of inspiration from other websites or other people doing the same thing, right, in the same kind of line. I tried to see what they did on their website, how they represented their website. So you can see this website from UX Studio, right, your dream partner. Okay, so this is how this person's represented their own product section here. Looking at a key website, right, like a home page in a website, the most important things that are meant to be on that website has to do with, one, your company's logo, which we have here. Then we have the navigation section here. You can see how they represented it here. Then we also have the like a brief introduction, that overview of your brand and services. So like this section, this hero section, cover that side, your design partners and ambition, right? We also have featured content where you highlight key products and services or promotion. This is what we have going on here. We also have something like this here. So different companies or different websites, they have a way of representing their own. So this is the website that I said that they did their own in form of a storytelling. So it wasn't like stacking everything together. They just told like different stories and showed different, they use more of videos to show us, right? So on the websites too, you get to have call to action buttons. You get to have the search bar if it's necessary, then the contact information, social media links, testimonials, and some visual elements. right? Use of images, videos, or graphics just to enhance the visual appeal and communicate your brand message. Then lastly, we get to have the footer. So this is where I'm going to draw my inspiration for this website, and I like everything going on here. Can see this other section too, can see this one too, right? I just like everything going on here. I think most design brands are so matured with their website design, they tend to go minimalistic, not too much. It's not crowded, the websites are not crowded, it just has the right information at the right places. So let's get on with the design. What I'm going to do is try to create like a wireframe, right? So I'm going to select this and go to my desktop here. I'm going to like just using some of these ideas that I have here. Let me try to shrink this. I'm going to select this, click K on my keyboard, and I'm going to scale it down. All right. So let's try to create like a wireframe that can give us like an idea of what we can do, right? So normally this section should have like a navigation, right? So let's try to use some sort of this color. This is a navigation. Let me drag this down a bit. So after that, we also have our logo. I'm going to click O on my keyboard, and I'm going to hold on to Shift, and I'm going to draw like a mini logo here, right? Then we're going to have some nav items. Let's click R on our keyboard for a rectangle, right? And then hold on, just draw like a mini section here, maybe some items, navigation items here. Then once we do that, maybe we have our call. This can be our call to action here, right? So the idea that I have is to have something elaborate going on at this section, this hero section, and I don't want it to be the regular you know how we have our image here, right, and maybe text here. No, that's not what I want. I want to have like some text going on here, just like we have there, right? Just like we have here. But I want a bold font, just like this. I'm not going to like be so detailed. I'm not going to write anything here. I'm going to have like a mini text here, maybe a big one here, and then I'm going to have like an image here. So let's use this. Let's use the same rectangle to represent an image, right? So let's use a line here, and then I'm holding on to my Shift. I'm clicking L on my keyboard, holding on to Shift. If you don't hold on to Shift, you might not get a perfect line. So I'm dragging it like this, holding on to, clicking R on my keyboard again, and I'm going to draw this. So let's try to walk around this. I'm not holding on to Shift while I do this one. Adjust it to this extent. All right, so the next thing again we have, you know, we ought to have like a like, let's say, brand partnership to show recognition, so that these brands are kind of affiliated with us, right? So let's just something like this one. Okay, so yeah, so this is what I want to go for here. So I'm going to use my rectangle here, and I'm going to add just a bit. So maybe here we have our brands that are affiliated with us, right? So the next thing we can also have is, let's say, some of the products that we offer, or let's say there's something I saw here that gave me an inspiration. What we excel at, right? So something like this, right? I could have gone with this, but I don't want to go with this some sort of shape, right? So I'm just going to stick to this kind of shape, and let's just give it, let's reduce this a bit, reduce this a bit. maybe place this like this. So I'm going to hold on to Option key on my keyboard and click on my mouse to drag this out. All right, so we're having a structure here. So the next thing we can do again is to like maybe talk about services here. We can talk about our services here. This is another breaker, so I'm using this like a breaking point to start new section, right? So our services can be different, a bit different, maybe something like this. Maybe we can have 2 images here, right? Maybe another image here to elaborate our services. Right, let's bring this up a bit, right? So the next thing we can have is, let's say, about us, maybe something that talks about us, right? Maybe our team. Let's use something like this to represent our team. So I'm holding on to Shift while I drag, and I'm going to hold on to Option key now to duplicate. You can also click on Command D to duplicate an item here. So let's center this here. So I'm not really a fan of these sections. In this section, let's bring it a bit close. Let's take it up a bit. Right, I'm going to group this, right click on my mouse and group it. I'm going to center this. I'm also going to align this. So you know, I saw a concept of video. I told you that this website here, this fantasy, when I was doing computer analysis, they had some kind of videos going on, right? So I think we should have like a video that talks about the brand. So here I'm going to utilize all of this section, maybe give it a different color just to draw an attention, right? I'm also going to have the video centered here. So I'm going to be working with a frame, a container size of 1/120, and everything here will be centered here, right? So maybe we have our image here. I'm just going to double click into this and bring this out here, and I'm going to right click and select bring to front. So I just want to display that as an image, so I'm going to go to polygon. I'm going to hold on to my Shift and I'm going to draw. Then I'm going to, once I place my mouse around the edge here, it's going to bend the pointer. Then I'm going to bend it. Let's change the color to this. So let's bend it a bit. All right, so sometimes when you're designing for these brands, right, you can add some bit of image and just to show them like the idea that you have. Okay, you can show them what the idea that you have before you start doing the high fidelity mock-up, right? So another section we can have here is more like what's testimonial section. So let's click R on our keyboard and draw a bit of a somewhat testimonial, right? So we can use something like this too. I'm going to just hold on to my Option key and then arrange this very well. We can increase this size a bit as testimonial. So I'm going to select everything, just give it an auto layout just so it will have a bit of space here. So let's bring this down here. And all right, so another important thing that can be here is contact us here. So we can use this section for contact us, maybe write some things here. contact us. It could be like in form of a form, or maybe not. Let's just, when we start designing, we just flesh everything out. So this side will be our contact us, and the next thing we have might be a form of our footer here. All right, let's change the color. Can also change the color for this. All right, so we have something like a guideline, a wireframe that we can flesh out now. So let's begin our design. So let's go ahead and select a frame here. I don't want to flesh it out here. This just gives me an idea, right? I like working on a fresh document when I want to design. So remember that what we're going to do now is to add our navigation sections here. So once we have our frame, we're going to try to work with the 8-point grid system, right? I'm going to put a link now for if you don't know how to set up the 8-point grid system and the whole idea behind it. I have a video putting up the link now. You can watch it and you can learn from that. So I already have it saved on my layout grid, my styles here, and I'm going to click on it. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is to create our navigation section here. I'm going to bring in the logo. So I have my logo here. This is the logo. I'm going to paste it here. All right, so I want this logo to snap right into my grid lines, right? So I'm going to reduce it a bit. And yes, it's snapping into my grid lines. So I want the spacing between the top side and the logo to be a 48. So I'm going to drag this a bit down. I'm going to hold on to my shift and hit the down arrow, and it's going to scale down. So it's going to scale down with an 8 because my grids were set to a height of 8 and the gutter 2 is 8. All right. So if you want it to move to the next row, just hold on to shift and click the down arrow on your laptop, on your keyboard, and it will move. All right, so you remember the idea or the summary of the business, right? So the business is into design services, teaching, learning, and all that. So I'm going to click on T on my keyboard and I'm going to start typing the nav item. I'm going to type learn now. So this learner, I'm using a font. I'm going to be using Poppins and I'm leaving it at regular. I'm leaving it at 16. Let's try to make it a medium. So I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to type design services. I'm going to type design services. So the next item I want to bring in here is going to be CV and LinkedIn optimization. So I'm going to have stock photos. Remember the idea where I don't want the users to think that the company is just into one business, right? So I'm trying to call out most of the key things that the business does in the navigation section, right? So that customers are fully aware of these things that they do, right? So I'm going to select all of them now because I want to create like a component set. I want it to, when I hover around each of it, like when I hover around each of these nav items, I want it to have that a visual cue that I am in this section, right? So just let me show you what I'm going to do now. Let me click F on my keyboard and draw a frame. Let's just select all this one. Let's move it here. So what I'm going to do now, I want to have a drop down here under for learn, because they teach other things, seminars and other trainings. So we're going to have a learn here. Go to hero icons, and I brought in this. I got this icon here, this drop down icon. But again, one thing you should know that to have a style, maybe the color palette, and that you have to consult with the brand. If brand might already have a font that they work with or a color that they work with, right? So I already created something like this, more like a brand guide. So if the company doesn't have like a brand guide, right, you can actually create some form of style for the user, for the company, right? But you have to consult the company and also take cognizance of what the company is into. There's some color that speaks to fashion, to design services, something. So majorly I'm going to be using blue for this design, right? So I'm going to do everything manual so that if you're still a beginner, you get to a hang of it. So I'm going to select this and select this, right click and group this selection here. So I'm going to just arrange this here also, then arrange this here. I'm going to select all of it and holding on to my shift key and create an auto layout, right? But I want the spacing between it to be, let's give it a 32. 32 is divisible by 8. Remember, I'm making use of an 8-point grid system. So mostly what I have on my design, maybe the spacing, the padding, somehow everything is going to be divisible by 8. So you can see here, this frame here like this section where you have my columns here, this is going to be where I'm going to focus my design on, which is like my container size, right? So my container size should be a 120. So you can see 120, which is divisible by 8 too. So I'm going to try to work with an 8-point grid system. So once I've done this, the next thing I'm going to try to duplicate this, and duplicate this. How many items do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to duplicate it into 5 places. So I'm just holding on to my Option or Alt key and then I'm dragging down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to Shift and select all of it and click on Shift A to create an auto layout. Right, I just wanted to use the auto layout to align everything very well. Then I'm going to right click and then ungroup it now. Now the idea, what I want to achieve is just like this. So if I am here, I'm going to hold on to Shift and create a perfect line, right? So remember, I don't like working with black as a color, like everything shouldn't be black. So I'm going to be using this color, right? 101010. Yes. Or we can use this color 1E. I think I prefer that one. Let's just change it. So this line here is automatically going to show that someone is on this section for learn, on the page for learn, right? So if you come to this other section, I'm going to click I just clicked on absolute position just to help me position this very well where I want it to be. Then for this line now, I'm going to bring it down a bit and I'm going to hold on to Shift and I'm going to drag it. I'm going to go back and position this one here. Hold on to Shift, make sure the line fits. Hold on to Option key and then drag the line out again. Then I'm going to hold on to Shift and then adjust the line and do the same till I get to the final item, which is print, personalized prints. So these are the services offered by Hello Dreams, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all of it now and I'm going to go here and click on create component set, right? So once I do that, I am going to go to prototype here. So I'm going to click on design services here and I'm going to bring it here, right? So let's detach this one. I'll click design services and put it there. That means once you hover around, and I'm going to set it at while hovering, right? So when you hover around design services or you click on design services, it's going to automatically show you that maybe you've selected or highlighted design services. That's just the concept of this. So where you see learn now, I'm going to take it to where the learn is underlined and I'm going to keep it at while hovering. So you can make the settings the way you like. So for this one, for this one here, I'm going to bring it here. Just select while hovering too. For wherever I see design services, I move it here, and put it out while hovering, move it here, set it out while hovering. I'm also going to do the same for this and set it out while hovering. So that's what I'm going to do for all of it. Do is actually to create 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. So this one now, this first one is going to be the empty state. It's going to be the normal state where no one is selected, right? So what I'm going to do is make sure that, so for when you click on learn or when you hover around learn, it's going to come to this place, so showing that it has been interacted with, right? So I connect, I'm just going to connect all of it, right? So wherever I have stock, for instance here that I have stock, I'm going to connect it to where stock is highlighted here. Connected swan. So where I have design services, I connect it back here, right? So for learn here now, I'm going to connect it all here, and all here. So let's play this prototype. I've already, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to select this now. I'm going to hold on to my option and just drag out one. Already this is going to be under our assets. If you come to our asset, you're going to see it here, right? So you can just take one and place here. All right, so let me show you what we created. I'm going to go ahead and play the prototype, just preview. So if I hover my mouse around it, you're going to see that they're all selected except learn, which we need to fix. This one is not responsive. It's as simple as that. What went wrong is this frame that I'm connecting it to is not inside this component set. So if you look at this properties panel, now this is the whole component. Now if I close it, you can see this one is still left out because it's not in the frame of the component. So this is it. I'm going to bring it here and put it here now. So let's be sure that our prototype is it's done very well. So I'm going to remove this hover that I selected and click on hover here. So for this one, I'm still going to leave it at change to, make sure it's a change to. This one too should be change to, same here, change to. So let's try and see if we have gotten this right. So I'm going to increase this now. Yes, we have gotten it right. All right, so that's that for this section now. So that's how to create like a component, a reusable component. So next step is to create a call to action button. I want to have a call to action button that says contact us, right? So I'm going to click on T on my keyboard and I'm going to type contact us. I'm going to place it here. So I'm going to click on Shift A to create an auto layout. I want to give it a corner radius of, let's start with 24, right? Then for this is the horizontal padding and the vertical padding. Remember I told you that I'm working with an 8-point grid system, right? So I want most of my paddings, my margins to be divisible by an 8, right? So for this one, horizontal padding, let's give it a 32. All right, so most times when you give your horizontal padding a number, try to give it half of that. So I'm going to start with a 16 for the vertical padding. Give it like half of it. You can see now with the settings I have now, my button is fitting into my grid lines. All right, so that's the beauty of it. I'm going to click on this plus sign here and I'm going to select a color. So I'm trying to use this color. Let's increase it. All right, so you can see that this black is not sitting well with the blue, and I'm going to go ahead and come to the selection color and change my black here to white. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and round the corners more to a 32. No, let's give it a 48. Yeah, I think we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this now and create an auto layout. Select this also and create an auto layout. I think we're good. So you can see my container now. This is my frame now. The width is 120. Just have a 0.01. However, it's still divisible by an 8. So remember, I told you that I'm working within these grid lines. All right, so yeah, that's the first stage. So the next thing we're going to do is try to create this section here. So I'm just going to click T on my keyboard and I'm going to type elevate your user experience with expert mobile and web application. But I want to capitalize each word, so I'm going to come to these 3 dots here, click on it and select this title case here. So however, I want to increase the font. Remember, I'm still using a Poppins here. I want to increase the font to as much as a 24. Let's center this just a bit. So for the line height, let's give it a 32. That's too small. Let's give it a 48. All right, but I'm going to create an auto layout around this because I want to give it a feel, a stroke. So I'll click on Shift A here and I'm going to round the corners of this thing up to a 120. Let's just see what it looks like. Then I am going to come to stroke. I am going to give it a stroke and I'm going to take my color picker and take this color here. So what I want to do now is to add a bit of a padding by the side here. So for the horizontal padding, I'm going to give it a 32. I need a bit of space there, but maybe we can go ahead and reduce the font a bit. Let's go with no, let's leave it like that. Let's just increase the font weight to a semi-bold. So remember, we're making use of this wireframe here. So I think we have a first text, then a larger text here. So I'm going to click T on my keyboard and I'm going to type building great experience. So let's position it here. Let's try to increase the font to as much as a 48. I'm going to center this here. I have a video on type scaling. You can like how to create a perfect type scale. I'm already used to certain numbers that I use across my design, but if you're just starting off, right, you can make use of that video to create like a type scale. You could have a header or your headers and your body text, that will guide you better. As you can see again, this particular text is fitting right into my grid line because it's a number divisible by 8. So what I'm going to do is this spacing here, let's leave it at a 96 for starters. So but for this one here, I'm going to increase the line height just a bit. Let's give the line height a 52. Now let's give it a 64. Looks too okay. Right, you can see it's still snapping right in place. So I want the spacing between these two not to be too much. I think a 32 sits well. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to create a call to action button here. So apart from this call to action button, I also want us to have like a call to action button here too. So let's just take this one. Just hold on to your command on control and click into this place. Hold on to option key and then drag it out with your mouse. Right. This is it. So I'm going to type book a consultation. So let's try to center this here. Right, so what I'm doing now, this homepage that I'm creating, with focus on the design services that this company offers. So that's what we're creating. So bear that in mind. So book a consultation. You know, they teach user experience design. So you can also book a consultation if you want this company to design a website or a mobile application for you. So what we're going to do now is try to give this a proper spacing. So between these two, the spacing is a 32, which is fine. I'm going to select the first one, hold on to shift, select second one, and create an auto layout. Then I'm going to select this other one, but let's try to increase the font for this one to a 24. I think this is well. Then I'm going to select the two, create an auto layout again, but I want the spacing here to be a 48, which is fine. Then I'm going to center this. For the 8-point grid system that we're trying to work with, right? In as much as we have this container sites that we're working with, this section, it doesn't mean that everything will start from this section and end at this edge here, right? So you can achieve that by making sure that your paddings and your spacing, margins and stuff are all aligned to a number divisible by 8. You get the gist. So let's just continue. The next thing we have to do is to create this image here. So remember, I really want something that draws users' attention, right? So the thing should speak for itself. I want, once you look at the image here on this section, you already know that this company is into design services. So my idea is just to use like a sophisticated design of, let's say, a dashboard to get that concept. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a design I have done before in the past. This is it. If you want a link on how to design everything here, I'm going to leave it in the description now. So I'm just going to bring this here, but you know, this is already like covering the whole screen, and I don't like the concept. Let's just close our layout grid here. So if it's like this, it's not giving me what I want. So most times, again, when I'm designing, I try to look at it. So I don't want it to be like a case of you're scrolling and you think is a design that speaks, like it's part of the website or the homepage that you're looking at. I want you to know that is a dramatic image anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to shrink this image. So I'm going to click on K on my keyboard. That's to scale. And I'm going to scale this down. All right, so let's put on our grid line so that I'll be sure that this is in the right place. If you look here on your right side, you can see that you can't find the options for designing the right. So it's because it's on scale, right? So we can click the drop down here and move it and select move, or you can just hit V on your keyboard. So for this one, I want to put on my grid line so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to click on K on my keyboard, and I'm going to scale it to be, yes, so it's right in my grid lines. So what I'm going to do is I want to use another image again. So let's try to use this one, right? It's still going to be somewhere. Let's scale it down a bit. So, but what I'm going to do, let's close this grid line here. What I'm going to do is add a bit of effects around it, just so it's not flat. So I'm going to go to effects here, and I'm going to click the plot sign for a drop shadow. But for my drop shadow, the x-axis, I'm going to give it, let's start with 20, right? But let's change the color to this blue that we have here, right? So for the x-axis section, what I'm going to do is let's give it as much as a 4 is okay, but I'm going to reduce the opacity of this to, let's give it a 25. Let's reduce it because we don't want it to be too much. Let's zoom this so you can see what I'm doing. So for the blur section, I'm going to give it as much as a, let's give it as much as a 200 for starters. Yes, I think this is okay. Let's increase this a bit to, let's say, 0.9. All right, okay, I think we're good. I want this to be exactly 25. All right, so for this one, I'm going to bring it here. So I want it to go right at the back of this other one. So this is this one. So I'm going to take it here from the layers panel. I'm going to bring it down. But so that it will also have a drama going on, I'm going to tilt it a bit and I'm going to drag it down just so you see what you still see it there. And I'm also going to add a bit of effect, a drop shadow. I'm going to use the same color, take my color picker and pick the blue color. Then I'm going to give it, let's give it as much as a 30 for the opacity. Then this one, for the x-axis, let's start with, let's say 13. For the y side, let's give it an 11. Then for the blur section, let's give it a 185. All right, you can see it's seeming as if it's somewhere in between there, and I like the effect. All right, so we're going to go with this. Remember I said that even though we're working within the grid line, that doesn't mean that if you have a concept to explore that you cannot explore it, just like I explored this particular one, right? Okay, so let's try to shrink this just a bit. Okay, so I think we're good. So I'm not going to group this here because it's an effect I would like to achieve. So I want it to be like when you come to my app, maybe this is scrolling here like an animation. This will be scrolling, right? So I'm not going to group it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add this section that shows the companies that are affiliated with us. So I'm just going to come here. I choose these logos. I'm going to use this brands here. I already have some brands. I'm going to place it here. So the spacing I'm giving them is let's give it a 128. Giving it a 128, the spacing here. So, but let's try to see the spacing that we have up there. I'm going to reduce this just a bit. Right, I think 32 thereabout is good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a frame because I want it to cover my grid lines here. I'm going to create a frame just like I have in my wireframe. So now it's more like I've boxed it, right? So I'm going to push this down just a bit. So I'll make sure that the frame is 120. Make sure I center this. Let's give this frame a feel. You can give a frame a feel when you want to add things inside it, right? So I'm going to select this color, but I'm going to try to reduce the opacity just a bit, right? So because I don't want it to be dragging attention with my call to action buttons. It has its own purpose. So let's go around the corners up to a 48. No, that's too much. That's too much. So let's try to round it to, let's say 32. 32, still too much. Let's say 16. So for my buttons, I like them to be rounded, right? But for other items that I have here, I don't want it to be fully rounded. So this one, I'm going to also give it like a 16, right? No, but I'm going to leave this one. I like the sharp kind of edge. Or maybe let me just give it a, let's see what I have here. So I'm going to give everything a 16 too. Alright, so let's off the grid lines and let's see what we have done so far. Alright, this is looking very neat. But let's try to reduce the opacity of this one again. Alright, so let's click this and make sure this is okay. Let's make sure this is aligned properly. All right, I just clicked on this line, align vertical centers. So the spacing, let's say 24. So the next thing we're going to do is to create a section that shows maybe our capacity, the things we can offer. Let's say for a design services now, what sets us apart? So most companies most people that go into design just dive into design. Just give us the details, they will just start designing. But it's always good that you offer company an end-to-end service from the strategy, the research, the competitors analysis, and so I'm going to come to this section here and I'm going to type something that sets this brand apart, which is let's just say we work from from strategy to execution. So I'm going to click T on my keyboard and I'm going to type work from strategy to execution. So remember what I've been using here. I think this is wrong, so I'm going to right click, no, execution. So I've been using this style where I just use only, just give each word an uppercase. So I'm going to position this in the middle and I'm going to increase the font to a 48, right? So I'm going to give it like, let's leave it at medium. What do we use? Okay, we used a semi-bold here, so let's leave it as semi-bold. So I'm going to bring this up a bit, hold on to click on it, hold on to shift and select the other item. I want to see the spacing between them, and to see the spacing between them I click there, I come here. So the spacing is 120, so I'm going to be using a spacing of 80 for this. Let's try to replicate something that we have here, what we have here. So I'm going to click on command and click on this item here, that's control, and I'm going to hold on to alt or option and I'm going to drag this one out and release my alt and my mouse button all at once. Okay, let's try to reaffirm the users that millions of people use us. So let's say that millions of people use us. All right, so again, remember the rule of writing, right? So for some words are not to be capitalized, like us, of, and all that. So you can make adjustment. To is also not to be capitalized when writing. And so let's personalize this. Let's just say millions of people use, let's say, hello dreams. Okay, so I think I got this inspiration from one of our design here. Can't remember which one, but I know it's somewhere here. What our clients say about us, right? Yeah, let's go back to it. So we have this here, so let's give the spacing between these two a 24, which is fine. I'm going to select the 2 and hit shift A to create an auto layout, and I'm going to center align it here. This one too should, the spacing is 80, which is fine. All right, so the next thing is to create the section that we have here. So I'm going to click on F on my click this drop down for frame, select a frame, and I'm going to draw a frame. But let's put back our grid line so that we can draw a perfect frame. And you know we're using as much as 3, and all right, so we're going to do this, create this frame. I want to create 3, so I'm going to be using, there are 12 columns here, so I'm going to be using 4 columns for each, right? And they're also going to align to the 8 point. This is 352 if you divide it by 8. So let's also align this somehow. Let's reduce this. Okay, I think this is fine. So okay, before we do that, let's create let's give this a fill color. Let it have the same fill color with this one, just for some form of alignment. Let's give it the corner radius a 16. No, that's too much. Let's give it an 8. All right, so I'm going to go and select a rectangle here, and I'm going to click to create this box here. Is where my frame, my image is going to stay, right? So let's align it here. Let's keep it here. All right, so I'm going to right click here and I'm going to go to pixels to find an image. So what I want to write in this section is maybe the things that we do that shows that maybe we work from strategy to execution. So I can write UX research, UI UX design, UX audit. while our pixels is loading, I'm going to click on T on my keyboard and I'm going to type UI UX design. But I'm going to reduce the font here up to a 24. Then I'm going to try to center this here. Let's bring it down a bit. Right, so I'm going to duplicate this and put a bit of a text. Let's say and give your users the best experience. So I don't need this to be capitalizing again each word. Let's remove it. Give your users the best experience. When you're using fonts, you're supposed to maintain some form of hierarchy. So this is my title, obviously, right? And this is a short description. Definitely the title is going to have a more pronounced header. So I used a 24 for this font here. I'm going to try to use a smaller font. Let's go with a 16 for this section. And I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and also make it irregular. Right, remember I don't like working with black. So I'm going to select my frame here and then find all the colors that I have as black. I'm going to change this here, copy this one here and change all of it to black. So these are the colors I've used on this section so far. And trust me, it took cognizance of this design. This is a real design that I did, right? So yeah, I think this is good. I'm going to select the both of them by hitting selecting the first one, hitting shift, select the second one, create an auto layout. So let's give the spacing between it a 16. Right, so let's bring it down just a bit. So I want to make sure the spacing between the top here is 15, 47, 49. No, it's too far. Let's make the spacing there a 32. This is good. So we have this one here. So I'm going to duplicate this, place it here. Then I'm going to name this UX Research. And then I'm going to do same for this. Name this UX Audit. So apparently my pixels has been loading since. I'm going to select this one, select this one, select this one. But remember, I'm holding my shift key. Then I'm going to click on shift A to create an auto layout. So I'm going to duplicate this by holding on my option key and using my mouse to drag it out. Then I'm going to select the both of them and give it a spacing of, let's give it a spacing of 48. Create an auto layout too. Make sure the spacing between these two is let's give it an 80. All right, this is centered here. So once we load our pixels, we'll be able to add images to this. So while we have this section here now, the next thing we're going to create is this section. So let's stop these pixels from loading. We're going to create our service, like calling out our core service for this product, which is the design services, right? So I'm going to click on, let's just use the same thing that we have here. I'm going to hold on to my option key and I'm going to drag it out. And I'm going to type our services. Remember I said that there's a tutorial for type scaling, right? What I'm using now is something I'm used to. I also use that other type scaling and you can adopt that, right? So this particular font is 24. So the spacing here is, let's give it a 64. No, we've been using 80 between items. So let's leave it at 80. But you know, we've been coming along and it's been looking very neat. But I want to give it a different look around this section. Not something different, but something unique, so to say. So I'm going to click on F. I'm going to go to my frame and select the frame 2. And I'm going to draw a frame around here. I'm coming. Let me just increase this. Okay. So this one is coming with me. So I'm going to go to constraints here and I'm going to select top so that it stays where it is. All right, so let's click F on our keyboard and create a frame section here. So this frame that we have here, I want to give it a different color, more like a gradient feel. I want it to be dark, but I need it to be unique too at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this fill section, click fill, and I'm going to go to linear. So for this first one, I'm going to use this color 1E, 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 right? Let's drag this to this section here. I just bring it down a bit. I'm just going to bring it down a bit, right? Then I'm going to create other sections here. Let's create here, but this one I'm going to give it as much as a black. Let's leave it at 100. So this one is at the edge. So for this one, let's also use a black here. Let's use a black. This one, let's give it as much as 100. So for this one, let's give it a 70 thereabouts. And for this one, we're also making use of a black. Let's give it as much as 72. Right, I'm just going to work around this somehow. Let's center this. This is 1440. This should be 1440. So let's go back to what we have. Just going to play around it a bit. Let's reduce it a bit. Let's add another effect here. Let's also make it a linear. So let's give it this one's. So but for this one, let's change the color. Let's give it this color code. I'm also going to turn it to this side here. Let's try to reduce the opacity. So for this last one, let's leave it at, let's increase the opacity a bit. All right. All right, let's try to remove this. I'm just going to walk around it a bit. Let's push this here and this here like this. Okay, so we're kind of good to go. Right, so I think I can work with this. So I'm going to hit T on my keyboard and I'm going to type mobile, but I'm going to go ahead and increase the font up to a 128. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the opacity. Then I'm going to duplicate this and type mobile design. Then I'm going to go ahead and increase the opacity and then reduce the font to a 68. Place it here. So let's call it mobile app design. So I'm going to place it here. Can make it a 48. Very good. I'm going to select the two of them and I'm going to right click and group selection. So the next thing I want to do is to write like a header. something that we have here. So I'm going to type T. Let's just take this here and duplicate it here. We are with you from strategy to execution. So this is already, you know, I created this in a group. So when I duplicated this one is still inside the group. So I'm going to remove it from the group, from this section here. So let's place this here. I don't want this to be extended like that. It has a lot of text, right? I think we've been using 48 here, which is good. I'm going to reduce this a bit, and I'm going to go to center alignment, align it to the center, and I'm going to leave it at this. So the next thing, I'm going to type a small text that says, what else do I want to type? What else can we say? Okay, let's also assure them that our team members are great. So let's say you get to work with industry best designers. So let's reduce this. What have we been using for regular text? Let's use this one here. This is a 24. So let's make this a 24. Let's make this 24. And we're going to bring it here. I'm going to leave it at medium. I'm going to select the two of them, right click and click on auto layout, shift A. Then the spacing between them, I'm going to give it a 48. No, let's give it a 32. Better. So between the two, 24, which is good. So let's try to create our frame here. I'm just going to hit F on my keyboard and I'm going to draw a frame. But I'm going to go ahead and put on my grid lines here so I can see where I'm positioning my frame. So I want to have just 2 frames here. But let's just give it a feel so we can see what we're doing. So I'm aligning this here. But it's as if this is not inside my frame. Let's find this frame here. This is my frame. Let's find this frame. Right, it's inside the frame. So I'm going to align this properly. Let's work with how many grids now? I think this is too much. Let's make use of 3 grid lines and 3 boxes, right? So this one will be a 3, let's give it a 352. Right, so for the width, let's just keep it at a 480. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this now. Now let's try to create the items that we have in there.